So, still on parenting teenagers, and today we want to look at this rising situation of teenagers insisting to be changed schools. So, you have a teenager in Form 2 or in Form 3, and they can't take it anymore, whether it's the school teacher, the other students, or a group of students, or a group of teachers, or the environment, the food, the conditions in the hostel or the conditions in the schools, you know, having to wake up at 4 a.m. and being forced to shower in cold water, or being forced to eat food that you develop side effects, you develop negative effects too, like having beans and you get bloated after that. I think this is a conversation that you need to sit down with your daughter and hear them out, because sometimes they might have legitimate cause for concern. They might have, you know, justifiable reasons for you to propel you to actually move them to another school. But sometimes it might just be a normal teenage transition tantrum, and I would call it tantrum because it's just that they're not being patient enough to adapt to the situation, or to learn adaptive skills to be able to cope with the situations. And if they gave themselves some time in that situation, then they might actually be able to overcome the challenges they're facing. But on the other hand, like we said, it could be something that is genuinely disturbing them, that is disrupting their ability to go through the day, to function through the day properly and adequately. And if it is the bins that is making them bloated, then see a doctor. You know, these are conditions that have a medical basis, and they're not just making them up. So they can get treated for that, and then they can perhaps get a letter to say that certain foods trigger symptoms of dyspepsia, which is bloating, pain in the upper part of the stomach, you know, feeling nauseous. Yes. Or it could be a particular teacher that is really stressing them out, yeah. And as a parent, you need to find a very appropriate way of handling the situation, so that you can make it better instead of worsening it. So if your teenager comes home reporting that this teacher has been harassing her or has been discriminating him in class, then you don't want to go and, you know, confront the teacher, which will make the matters worse, and then you would actually be forced to now transfer your teenager. But you want to very delicately and diplomatically handle the situation by making sure that the consequences are going to be repairing what's already broken, or fixing the problem instead of making it worse. And so children demanding to be changed schools in high schools is very, very common, and I'm sure a lot of doctors are seeing that. Children coming in with headaches that have no medical basis, coming in with chest pains that have no medical explanations. They're stressed out, and you really need to address this, because the thing that you need to weigh in the end is it worth it? You know, persevering through this phase, this transition that will leave them with long-term consequences, or addressing them so that they do not have to experience these long-term consequences of the stresses and the triggers and the problems that they're facing in their high schools. And as a parent, you really need to hear your child out and reason with them. So that's the only way you can distinguish whether your teenager is just being a teenager, or they're actually facing problems that are overwhelming their ability to function properly and to perform effectively. And I think that would really help, so that if you still find it difficult to distinguish whether they're just being teenager or they're actually going through a problem, then see a therapist, see a child and adolescent psychologist or psychiatrist. They can have sessions with this teenager and get to the bottom of the problem. And you can be made aware of it, and your teenager can actually come. It might be a problem that can be solved so that they don't have to switch schools, or it might be a problem that cannot be solved and would have far more consequences on their mental health, on their intellectual health, on their physical health, and that would mean that it's better for them to go to another school. But they have to also understand that every school is different. Every school has got its own challenges. Every school has got its own problems. So if this school serves beans, the other school might be serving cabbages, and they still trigger the same responses in your system, if that's the reason why you want to move school. If this school wakes up at 4 a.m. to read, this school might be waking up at 3:30. So again, your teenager has to be aware. You have to make them fully aware that each school has got its own challenges. And you can only do that by sitting down with your teenager and assessing all these